No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve Postgame Show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show, where, as has been the habit and has been the consistent theme this season, we are here to discuss another Winnipeg Jets loss, this time 3-1 at the hands of the Edmonton Oilers. The Jets played well, they played admirably, but as we've said so many times before, Mr. Ginsburg, admirable play that results in 0 points is just not good enough for this Winnipeg Jets team. They just they just lose. They can't afford to take these losses. We on Saturday, was that Saturday? I guess it was, when I was on with Joe Pascucci. Joe said that he thought that the Jets maybe could afford 15 losses over the remainder of the schedule. Well, now that number is at 13 losses. I mean, that's just the brass tacks of tonight's effort. They played well. Yeah, they got goalied, no question about it, that the Edmonton goalie, Calvin Pickard, the local boy, played tremendously for him after having a tremendously difficult season so far. And the Jets can say all the right things, but ultimately it doesn't count, it doesn't matter. And for they've lost, I think it's 19 of their last 25 games, if I'm not mistaken. So the time for moral victories is long gone. It strictly needs to be points in the bank, and they miss another opportunity tonight, losing 3-1 to the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, what's up, Drew? Before we get into the game tonight, it's good to be back with you. It's been a little while, so it's good to be back doing a show with you. It's been
I guess it was all the way before. Yeah, it was before the Christmas break. So yes, it is nice to see you again. It's been like a week without us spending this virtual time together. So yes, I would concur, and I would echo your comments. You were at Saturday's game. I was having some quality brother sister time, which is why you didn't join me on the post game show.
Shout out to my sister Gillian for taking me to the game. We had a few libations, and it was a good time. Unfortunately, the Jets weren't able to get the extra point. But most importantly, big thanks to Joe Pascucci for stepping in for me. And by the way, is Dave Manouk alive?
I don't know.
Do we know if he's alive? Because
I'm not entirely sure. No,
it's been a few weeks since he's done one of these shows, Drew. So I'm starting to worry. Like, maybe we should put out like an APB or something.
Can somebody do maybe somebody should like find his, like the private jets. They have a flight number or whatever. Maybe somebody can follow his flight number and see where he's at, because I'm not really sure where he's at. But I suspect he'll be back sooner rather than later and join us again here on one of the Illegal Curve post game shows, or the Saturday morning Illegal Curve hockey show. We've had a bit of a rotating cast as of late, but that rotating cast has always been talking about the same thing, and that's simply another Winnipeg Jets defeat.
Yeah, sorry, Drew, I just had to unmute myself there. Yeah, I mean, this is a game where you had to get at least a point, right? The Jets put 42 shots on local boy Calvin Pickard, as you said. He was phenomenal. I had to double check how many shots Kyle Connor had. I thought it was going to be like 6 or 7. He had 9 shots on net. 9 of the 42 shots came from Kyle Connor. That's incredible. And obviously a season high for the Jets. But yeah, there was no shortage of grade A chances. I mean, Pickard was incredible. That save he made in tight on Gabe Vilardi on the power play. I forget if that was the second power play or the third power play. For 58 minutes and 36 seconds, the Jets kept Connor McDavid off the score sheet. And then McDavid obviously got the the assist on the empty netter. And obviously we're going to be going to Scott Arneal, should mention that. So for the folks watching, we're going to go to Scott Arneal's post-game presser. I'm sure he's going to have a few things to say. But yeah, Drew, I mean, even though, the Jets for the most part kept McDavid and Draisaitl off the score sheet and peppered Calvin Pickard with a lot of shots, they end up coming out with no points. So they're not gaining any ground on any of those teams that are between them and the Sharks. And that's the thing, right? Like, the Jets are 5 points back of the Sharks for the last wildcard spot, but there's, I believe, 4 other teams between them and the Sharks. So at this point in the season, the Jets desperately need points. And it's really unfortunate that the Jets weren't able to get a point in tonight's game, because they were the better team. I think even most Oilers fans would admit, even though they got the 2 points, that they were lucky to get the 2 points. Pickard stepped up big time And, that's in the absence of Tristan Jarry, who they picked up from Pittsburgh. But there's a reason why Pickard was playing for the Oilers in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You can say whatever you want about him. You can look at his numbers and say his numbers aren't very good. But tonight, he played like a number one goalie. That's for sure.
He was, look, and it's incumbent on the Winnipeg Jets to find a way to get to him, or at this, and the problem is, I mean, you have the opportunities. You had opportunities 5-on-5. You had power play opportunities. The Jets had 3 power play opportunities before the Oilers had a single
Yes.
penalty. So I mean, you have the opportunities on the power play. You have the opportunities, 5-on-5. You just have to find a way to do it, because when it's a 0-0 game, or when it's that tight and you haven't been able to score even despite the opportunities, one rinky-dink mistake ends up in the back of your net, and everything that you've done well for the 20 plus minutes of that first period and into the second period goes for naught. And that's the problem with the Winnipeg Jets, is they just don't have any margin for error. They absolutely have zero margin for error, and so they know that. I mean, we're not saying anything that they themselves don't already know and aren't already familiar with in terms of their performance. They know that they can't afford any slip-ups, especially when you cannot score. And they had so many opportunities to get goals in this game, be it at 5-on-5, be it on those power play opportunities. You just have to find a way to do it, because one simple mistake ends up in the back of your net, and you're chasing and you're chasing and you're chasing this entire game. So yeah, they were the better of the two teams, and yeah, they deserved a better fate. And honest to God, I think we could have just replayed a post-game show that we did earlier this year and just replaced the name of that team, and put in Edmonton instead of whatever team. And it's just the same story night in, night out, is you just have to find a way to get a goal. And they didn't, until it's already, you're down 2 goals, and you're pressing and you're pressing and you're pressing and you're pressing. But when there's an empty net, one little, nice play by, McDavid, and a nice play by Hyman ends up in the net, and the game's over at that point in time, and you don't get the opportunity to do anything when you have a 6-on-5 man advantage. It's, it's just it's what this Winnipeg Jets team is. They're just that. They're 10% short. They're
exactly, yeah,
and that's every game,
and that's why the last 6 games have been essentially 1-goal games, right? This game is not a 1-goal game, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, it was a 1-goal game minus the empty netter. Yes. One thing, Drew, and if you have to cut me off because Scott Arneal comes up, then obviously feel free to do so.
Yeah, I've never been shy about cutting you off before.
Absolutely, and I wanted just to mention the Lowry line, because that was the one line for me that was a key line. Lowry, Barron, and Tanner Pearson, obviously. And then the other line that I was focusing in on was Nemesnikov, Iafallo, and Perfetti. And then, as we know, Taves moved up to that line, and he was centering Iafallo and Perfetti. But here are some numbers. Expected goals for the Lowry line, who was up against the McDavid line for the most part, 0.91 to 0.13.
Yeah.
So, right. And the shot attempts were 14-5 in the Lowry line's favor, right? So just wanted to mention that. Obviously, Lowry gets the goal, but that line, I thought, even early in the game, within the first 2 or 3 minutes, they had a scoring chance. I made a note of it. And I thought the Lowry line was great all night long, and they had a great forecheck going. They had a lot of pressure on the Oilers defense. And when you're going up against that McDavid line, all you're trying to do is limit the damage, right? We talked about it. I mean, 32 points in 12 games is absolutely absurd. And they did that tonight. Not only did they shut McDavid's line down, they had more of the scoring chances. So
Connor McDavid was, he was pedestrian based on the standards of Connor McDavid. And to your point there, Ezzy, a lot of that credit goes to Adam Lowry and the shutdown. And he outscores Connor McDavid at 5-on-5. That line does. I mean, by virtue of the Lowry getting the Jets' only goal in tonight's game. So you're absolutely right that, this was a very impressive performance by Adam Lowry and his line mates and everything else. And that's what makes it so frustrating for the Winnipeg Jets. And I think that's what makes it so frustrating for everybody in that dressing room, is this is now 2 games in a row that they should, against 2 very good teams in the Western Conference, I might add, where they should have earned 4 points in total. They should have come away with 2 regulation time victories based on how they performed. And ultimately, they end up with 1 of the 4 points. You can understand the frustration. You can understand the, just the what more do we have to do in order to get points? But when you can't score, or when only one of your lines can generally score, that's where your margin for error is so small.
And like you said, tonight, Scheifele's line was doing, I thought that was one of Gabe Vilardi's best games in a long time, like backtracking, just aggressive, creating offense. I thought he was really good. And we talked about Kyle Connor, 9 shots on net. Like, he can't do much more than that. But when the first line isn't on the score sheet, they aren't getting enough offense from the secondary lines, right? Obviously, they did from Lowry's line, but that was it. They only got the 1 goal. So you're right. The Jets' margin for error is very slim right now. And even though you like how you played, and you would have liked, to get a goal on the power play, which, like, as you mentioned before, you didn't. But there were some positives, right? You were disciplined. You only gave the Oilers 1 power play. And we talked about it. The Lowry line was sensational. I don't think Scott Arneal is breaking up that line anytime soon. I think Scott Arneal is coming up right now, Drew.
Yeah, he's coming up momentarily here. As soon as I see him at the podium from the match.
A little bit later than normal, by the way. I don't know if there was a closed door meeting.
No, there wasn't anything. I haven't seen anything online to that effect. Maybe who knows why they maybe took him an extra couple minutes to get to the podium, but that's okay. We also started maybe a couple minutes quicker here on the post game show than we normally do.
Well, I had to get my steps in, so I like to get those steps in right before the show.
I understand.
So
you have to get
apologize about that, Drew. Yeah.
You have to get your 10,000 steps a day. I mean, you're diligent when it comes to that. So
steps to the fridge is what I'm talking about. By the way, I had to get myself a snack. Steps to the fridge.
Yeah, well, steps to the fridge are as important as anything else. As soon as we see, we might be having some technical difficulties. As soon as we get anything going, we will make sure to bring it to you here live on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Understand that we might have some issues going on behind the scenes with photographer and videographer Colby Spence, but as soon as we can get things in order, in the meantime, we'll keep talking about tonight's game. Look, the Jets. We know what the Edmonton Oilers are. Everybody knows what the Edmonton Oilers are at this point in time. And your number one goal when you play against the Oilers is to not get beat by McDavid and Draisaitl, to a lesser extent, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Zach Hyman. And the Jets accomplished that. That's what makes it so frustrating the way tonight is. And so as a result, these 2 games, you've played very well with these 2 games after the Christmas break. You like how you've played, but like I said, getting 1 point out of 4 is just not sufficient. You just have to find a way to dig deeper. You have to find a way, you have to win more on the margins. That's where the Jets aren't winning, is that their best players are doing what they can. It's the marginal players that just still continue to not perform well enough for the Winnipeg Jets. And you need to get a cheap goal. You need to get a dirty goal. You need to get something that they're not quite getting right now on this Winnipeg Jets team. And that's why I think the frustration level, I think for everybody, continues to probably to grow as the struggles for this Jets team continue. Yet with another good performance, but nothing to show for it.
No, and some of those marginal players that we've talked about that the Jets need more offense from. Obviously, Lowry, that's only his 2nd goal of the year, but I mentioned Tanner Pearson. I thought he was looking good tonight. I thought Gus Nyquist was looking pretty sharp tonight. Obviously, we've talked about he's much better suited for a 4th line role, but he was out there on the first power play unit. I thought he looked good. And Cole Perfetti, I thought, looked good as well. So again, we're talking about, players looking good and doing all the right things, but are we going to Scott Arneal? Okay.
Scott, what do you tell your team after that?
That's tough. You know what? That was, again, that's 6 periods for me that have been how we have to play. The only difference is we need points. We need the points. We got to find a way to, score some more goals than the opposition. We have to, we got to get points. But I can't criticize the effort. I can't criticize the battle, the opportunities, the game plan that we threw at them to, against their elite players. All those things I asked them to do, they did it. And it's at the end of the day, we're not getting points, and that's the most important thing.
Adam breaks a long drought, but then other guys, get nothing.
Still waiting on guys, and it's hard because I'm hoping it for them, but at the end of the day, it's all part of what professional hockey players go through. It's guys go through these slumps, and you got to find a way to get yourself out. There's just, obviously your teammates can help you, but it's, to me, if you put the hard work in and you you find a way to maybe do something a little bit different than maybe you normally do, and hopefully you can get that goal that makes a difference in a hockey game.
You ever gone through something like this before?
Yeah, I think everybody has. Teams
many
teams
guys.
have seen. I don't know if I've seen. I mean, I guess there probably has been situations where it's been a group like this, but it's just kind of the overriding thing right now. Why, we're in a game like that. We're playing a heck of a hockey game, and it gets stressed. It gets the whole. You can feel it. There's some stress happening, and guys aren't doing the natural things that they normally do.
How do you balance the upset of losing with the trusting of the process that leads to a shot count like you got tonight?
Sorry, maybe.
For me, it seems, you guys have lost more often than you've won now. There must be a level of upsetness and all of that. And you believe in your process, the effort level. So how do you balance those two things?
Well, just played a team that just went to Stanley Cup Finals 2 years in a row, and we spent an awful lot of time in there in the rink. I think the process worked. Again, it's us finishing, the finishing aspect. Our power play spent almost the whole time in their end of the rink on our 3 power plays. We had 8 quality scoring chances on our power play. I mean, all these things have to kind of, when they all seem to be, everything seems to be working, you're scoring 3, 4, 5 goals a game. You're not talking about this stuff. But for me, on the process side, we were complaining about our process and the kind of what we were doing earlier in the year and through stretches recently. In this last bit, this has been the best and the players would be the ones that admitted as well. This is the best we've played these last 6 periods. More like we have to play. And I mean, sooner or later this has to fall. The other way where these goals have to come. But I can't see us all of a sudden. We're not going to just go and throw it to the wind and just say, okay, here, we'll trade chances with the Edmonton Oilers. How's that going to end up? We already tried doing that earlier. Our process and our end of the rink, we're keeping these top teams under 10 scoring chances, 5-on-5. So for me, the process, I can keep saying that, but at the end of the day, just keep doing what we're doing, and hopefully that we can score some goals and we'll get some points.
A lot of your chances came from your blue line today. Is that because you had offensive zone time and you could feed them, or was that an
It has a little bit to do with Edmonton, how they really play low on how they defend, and they pack it in kind of low, and so it does open up the pucks to the top. And I think that one of the things is when you're not having success in scoring goals, when you start shooting these pucks from the top and you're getting high tips, you're getting screens, you're getting rebounds, those are the type of goals that all those guys are hopefully maybe can get, that it gets them off their schneid, and maybe they can get back on the score sheet. So the worst thing you can try to do is be cute, try to make more passes. And there was a couple times tonight where I felt we should have shot and we should have attacked, but at the end of the day, if we're getting that volume from the top, that's creating the scramble that forces, in this case, Edmonton to get out of their structure. And then hopefully that's the chances that's a rebound, or it's kind of like Lau's goal. It was a bad angle shot into his feet. The rebound's sitting there and it's in the net. But I'd like to see about 5 of those happen in a game.
Scott, how would you describe the job that Lowry line did in the matchup game this evening?
I think there was a double matchup, right? There was Scheif against Draisaitl most of the night, and it was Lau against McDavid. And those guys are elite. They're amazing players, and we've seen an awful lot of them. We saw what they did to us in their building the last time we were in there, and that's a yeoman's job that those guys did. But I just really wish that we could have been rewarded with 2 points behind it. Thank you. Thanks.
There he goes, Winnipeg Jets head coach Scott Arneal tonight from the Matt Frost Media Center, addressing the assembled media after the Jets drop another 3-1 decision. I mean, there's only so many ways you can say the same thing. It's the process good, result bad. Process good, result bad. Process good, secondary scoring bad. Process good, top line performance good, result bad. I mean, the problem is it's the last 2 words I said in that entire sort of not diatribe, because that's not the right one, but result bad. Process good, result bad. That's the Winnipeg Jets right now, and that's at some Thomas Hickey, I don't know if you were, I mean, I'm sure you were watching on the broadcast as well. Thomas Hickey was adamant that he still thinks this Winnipeg Jets team is going to be a playoff team. And
Yes.
that confidence was interesting, I would say, would be the nicest way I would describe that, because I don't know that anybody else who's necessarily watching this post-game show right now or has spent the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks watching this Winnipeg Jets team would be so adamant in saying that. But frankly, if they play like they played against Minnesota and like they played against Edmonton, and they replicate that over the rest of the season, theoretically, they should be in a good position. The problem with this Winnipeg Jets team is that theoretically, a lot of things that should have happened this year haven't happened. And that's why you see them where you see them, which is towards the bottom of the standings in the NHL.
Well, the problem is, Drew, we're 37 games into the season now. We're not 10 or 15 games into the season, and the Jets are just running out of time, right? You look over at the Eastern Conference, and I kind of had to do a double take. I knew the Sabres were winning games, but they've won 8 games in a row, and they're still 2 points out of a playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
They've won 8 games in a row, and they're still not in a playoff spot. Think about that for a second. That's just how tight. The Eastern Conference is so tight, right? Like, you have basically, I think I'll double check now, but yeah, you have 4 points separating the Florida Panthers in the last wildcard spot from the last place team, which I believe is the Columbus Blue Jackets, right? Who keep making trades, by the way. They made another trade.
Trades?
Today.
You can make trades? You're allowed to make trades? I thought you weren't allowed to make trades. Trades are too hard.
Well, during the roster freeze, you couldn't, but the roster freeze is over.
You couldn't. But
the roster freeze is over. So Chevy can definitely make some moves, but
don't hold your breath.
No, I won't. And I've tried doing that before. It didn't work out very well. But Scott Arneal, you could hear the frustration in his voice, obviously. I mean, why wouldn't he be frustrated when Lowry's line outplays the McDavid line? They outshoot them 42-21 or whatever it was, and they only had 1 goal to show for it. And we talked about it. Like, Kyle Connor, I thought, was the Jets' best forward. 9 shots. I've said that already 3 times tonight. But, I mean, Kyle Connor was all over the ice. I thought he was probably arguably the best player on either team. So Scheifele's line did its job, but didn't have anything to show for it. And obviously, Lowry gets the big monkey off his back, scoring the goal. Morgan Barron continued. We talked about Morgan Barron a lot with Kenny Weeb on Saturday morning show. He continues to be excellent, and that's a positive sign. That looks like you found a good line there that's going to stick together with Lowry, Barron, and Pearson. But you're not getting anything from Nemesnikov. You're not getting anything from Niederreiter. Cole Perfetti's still stuck at 2 goals, right? Like, there's still a lot of guys that you're waiting for more from. And like you said, I mean, moral victories, you're just not, we're almost halfway through the season here. And, close is just not going to cut it anymore. And so the Jets are going to have to win 6 or 7 games in a row if they want to get into a playoff spot, because they're still 5 points back. And yes, they have games in hand. We should mention that. But if you don't do anything with those games in hand, then it doesn't matter.
No, they don't even have that many games in hand anymore. They're very close to most of the other teams, 37, 38 games played. Seattle, in fact, has games in hand on the Jets now, and they're 4 points up on the Jets. So the games in hand argument, which was a thing, maybe 2 weeks ago, has dissipated with the Jets not being able to capitalize on that part at any point in time. Look, this team is calling out for, I mean, I feel like a broken MP3 player, not a broken record anymore, but just, it's now incumbent on the general manager to do something, to just make some moves to try and juice this team a little bit, because the players who are performing well have to be saying, we need some help. We need some assistance. If you don't do it sooner rather than later, the whole year is going to be lost. I mean, yes, there was the St. Louis Blues who went on their magical run, a few years ago when they were the worst team in the league on New Year's Day, and they went they turned their entire season around, and we know that. But that is not, you can't count on that. You can't expect that. You see your team for what it is at this point in time. It's 37 games into the season at this point in time. You know where your team's strengths are. You know what their flaws are. Everybody knows what their flaws are. So now it's time for the general manager to address those flaws.
Yeah.
And don't tell me that it's too difficult to do it, or, we went out and we tried to get this guy, but he has a no trade clause, or he's got a no move clause, or not the entire league. It's not like the entire league has no trade clauses. It's not.
Well, look at the Columbus Blue Jackets. They traded a couple of picks to get Mason Marchment, but they got those picks back by trading Chinnikov.
Yeah.
Right? So
they have a general manager who was going to do something. I mean, now I look, and I understand people saying that the Jets don't have any assets and everything else.
Well, of course they do.
I mean,
of course they have assets. I mean, there's prospects in the system that you can trade. Obviously, they don't have a second-round draft pick. They have other draft picks they can trade. I mean, maybe they don't have the same assets that other teams have. But look, Minnesota found a way to get Quinn Hughes. They had to trade essentially 4 first-round picks to get Quinn Hughes. Now, I'm not saying that the Jets had a chance at Quinn Hughes, Drew. That's not what I'm saying. But you have a certain amount of draft picks. You have a certain amount of prospects. I'm not saying that you know this prospect or that prospect the Jets should be trading, but there are ways to make moves.
It's the job of the general manager, and it's the job of the pro scouting department of the Winnipeg Jets to, target a player if they think that this player is going to assist the team, and then make the evaluation of, is the cost for acquiring that player, whatever that cost might be, is it a cost worth stomaching? The problem that the Winnipeg Jets have had is that they always, I think, this is my opinion, they overrate the prospects that they have, and then they find out sometimes that those prospects don't necessarily develop into what they should be. I mean, again, not that this isn't about Brad Lambert, but last year you should have been able to say, okay, is Brad Lambert going to be is he going to be a top 6 forward at the NHL level? Is he going, is Ville Heinola going back a few years ago? Is he going to be a top 4 or top pairing or a top 4, defenseman in the NHL? Sometimes you have to swing the bat a little bit. You can't always lay down a bunt and try and sacrifice the runner from first to second. Sometimes you got to swing the bat a little bit, and the Jets as an organization, I think, are paralyzed and have an inability to swing that bat until their hand is forced.
Well, I wonder, Drew, if you lose to Detroit, by
the way, Detroit's a good hockey team. This isn't the Detroit Red Wings of the last decade for the most part. This Detroit Red Wings team is atop the Atlantic Division.
Right. It's not your grandfather's team, that's for sure. The Red Wings are legitimate this year, but you wonder if you've got the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators coming up on the road, or pardon me, at home, and you wonder
on the road.
Oh, sorry, on the road. Sorry, I forgot. So you wonder how many more losses here? We're at 6 losses in a row here, right?
Mm-hmm.
You wonder how much longer before Chevy makes that move? Because I'm not saying there's a move imminent, but at what point do you say, okay, what if the Jets are 8 points back of a playoff spot or 9 points back of a playoff spot? Then you're getting into very dangerous territory where, in order for you to come back, like I've said so many times, you've got to win 7 or 8 games in a row. And who thinks this Jets team is going to win 7 or 8 games in a row? Like I mentioned, the Buffalo Sabres did but that was very unexpected. I don't know enough about the Sabres to know aside from Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck lighting it up.
Well, they've always had the offensive upside. They just haven't had the goaltending. All of a sudden you start getting the goaltending, then maybe good things are going to happen. But when they were struggling, there needs to be a more aggressive mindset. There needs to be a willingness to hurt some feelings. There needs to be a willingness to hurt some feelings that the Winnipeg Jets as an organization just don't have. And part of that leads to the problem that you're currently experiencing where, you're not good enough as currently constructed, but you also refuse to do anything to address your shortcomings. The shortcomings are obvious. We know what they are. Everybody knows what they are. We've watched this team for 3 months now. Address your shortcomings. That's why you get paid. This isn't like a hockey pool where you draft your players in, at the beginning of the season and then you can't do anything with your team. Address your shortcomings. Find a way to address your shortcomings. Don't give me excuses for why you're unable to do so. Yes, players have trade protections. Yes, things might cost too much on an acquisition market. Find a way to address your shortcomings. That's your job, for God's sakes. That's your job. And it's, again, another night where the Winnipeg Jets perform admirably, but they don't get anything done in terms of actually getting any goals enough goals behind the opposition, and they don't get any points in the standings column.
It's almost bordering on absurd at this point. Some of the guys that are struggling to put the puck in the net, like obviously Gustav Nyquist had the goal, the opening goal. It looked like against the Minnesota Wild a couple nights ago, and then we know it was taken away on the offside call.
Right.
But it's some of these guys that are struggling, like Nemesnikov and Perfetti and Niederreiter. It's just, I mean, these are guys that you would point to as the reason why the Jets were the President's Trophy winner last year, as opposed to what's holding them back, right? Like everybody knows Scheifele and Connor and Velarde run the Jets offense, but it was the second line and the third line with Lowry, Niederreiter, Appleton, and it was Nemesnikov and Perfetti that were providing the secondary offense, right? And you're just not getting that this year. You're not getting as much offense from your defense, even though I agree with, I think it was Murat that asked the question about players jumping in. Like Logan Stanley had a few shots on net. Obviously, Josh Morrissey was out there. Not only, even strength, he was leading the power play and he was getting some shots through to the net, right? Mm-hmm. But they're just not finishing. And Scott Arneal touched on that in his post-game presser. They're doing everything right, but finishing. And it goes back to your point. That shows you a team that's fragile and that has a small margin for error, because they have to basically outwork the opponents and get 3 shots to the opponent's 1 to score a goal. And it's tough to watch. It's been tough to watch for a while now. And like you said, it hasn't been just a few weeks since the Jets have been like this. It's going over 2 months now where the Jets have played this type of hockey, and it's close, but no cigar. And I just worry that they're running out of time here. I still maintain what I said on Saturday morning show. I still think the Jets can make the playoffs. I'm not going to say they will make the playoffs. I still think there's enough time, but I mean, we know, Drew, time is not your friend when you're chasing a playoff spot 6 points back.
Yeah, no shots on goal tonight for Vlad Nemesnikov or Nino Niederreiter, and these are 2 guys that the Jets count on for secondary offense. And so the Jets get 42 shots on goal, and neither of them come from those 2 veteran players, or for that matter, from Alex Iafallo. And these are 3 players that you just signed, within the not too distant future, that you signed to contract extensions so that they would be, key members of your team for the next couple of years. So there's 3 guys right there that need to do more for your team. And there's also, by the way, those are 3 guys who also probably have some appeal to, on the trade market, because they're under contract for very reasonable amounts. They're good professionals. They're quality players who would look great on most teams, especially if you are a playoff contender on their 4th lines. I'm not saying that those are the guys you need to trade, but I'm saying it, you have some attractive assets that aren't doing it for you right now. Maybe you solve the problem by using those guys, trying to get something else in return to help rejuvenate your team. Again, I don't expect this to happen. I expect more lip service and more of the status quo, but I can see the frustration continuing to boil and build and everything else along those lines. Let's get into there's not that many goals to go through, so we'll get into it. It's the Play Now game recap.
The Play Now game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Play Now for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Sign up for Play Now and get a $20 lottery welcome bonus. Play Now is Manitoba's local, legal, and secure gambling site and the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Conditions apply. 18+. Please, please, please enjoy Play Now with a sense of responsibility. That's the important part. The Jets, again, we talked about it. Good start to this game. They outshoot the Edmonton 15-9 in that first period. Probably the best 10-minute opening stretch that we've seen the Winnipeg Jets play in a while.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, they have the ice tilted heavily in the favor of the Jets. We had a very unexpected fight between Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Neil Pionk. Good for both of those guys. I mean, Pionk has always got a bit of an edge to him. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, not a guy you necessarily think of when it comes to fighting, but good for him as well, dropping the gloves to try and maybe get some life into his Edmonton Oilers team. no goals scored after 20 minutes though, and the Jets had their opportunities. Nugent Hopkins in that fight with Pionk had already taken a minor penalty to start for roughing, so they're shorthanded there. They're shorthanded again about 6 minutes later. Leon Draisaitl gets a cross-checking penalty late in the first period. Opportunity knocked for the Winnipeg Jets on both of those chances, and unfortunately they were not there to answer the call to get a goal to open the game in the first 20 or so minutes.
Yeah, just going back to that fight, I mean, obviously, Drew, it's not like two heavyweights. Like, it's not Logan Stanley versus Jake Middleton like we saw between the Jets and the Wild. It's more of a featherweight fight, or a lower weight class, right? But you love that Pionk hits Nugent Hopkins, and you love the fact that he's willing to fight, and he also draws that penalty. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I love the most out of it. It's like a double win. You win the fight, and you also, have Nugent Hopkins in the box. And by the way, you were talking about Nugent Hopkins earlier. He's still over a point per game for the Edmonton Oilers, and I don't know if he'll make Team Canada, but he's definitely on the radar of Team Canada, and that just shows you why this Oilers team has been doing so well, because not only do they have two of the best players in the world, but you've got the supporting cast with Nugent Hopkins and Zach Hyman and Jack Roslovic. I would throw in there. Look, I haven't been a big. Yeah, we'll talk about the goal, but I haven't been a big fan of Roslovic's game. You know that, Drew. I just think for what he gives offensively, he takes away defensively. I'll just leave it at that. But he's been a nice fit, and shout out to our buddy Ken Wiebe, who had a good article in the Winnipeg Free Press. So check that out. He wrote about Jack Roslovic today. But yeah, this Oilers team, I thought for the most part was shut down in the first period. Like you said, there were no goals, but we mentioned really early in the first couple minutes, Kyle Connor redirected a Mark Scheifele centering pass. There was a good chance for Johnny Taves. Samberg got into the play behind the net and passed it to Johnny Taves in the slot. So Taves had a good early scoring chance. And the shots you mentioned were 59. They were 7-1 in the first 9 or 10 minutes of the game. So like, the Jets got the start. They were getting the chances. They just didn't have anything to show for it. So I agree with you. That was maybe their best first period since the Washington win. Maybe I would say.
Yeah.
But so again, the first periods have been the starts have been an issue for the Jets. So they get the good start, but then you don't have anything to show for it. So that's the downside. Be nice to go up a goal, as opposed to, as we know, Max Jones opens up the scoring, which we'll get into. But the way they played, the process, like Murat asked Scott Arneal about the process, the way the Jets were playing, the aggressive forecheck, the pressure, the fact that they weren't really allowing the Oilers to get inside. They were giving the Oilers, I thought, a little outside room, and then they were clogging up the inside. Like, I thought Samberg and Pionk were magnificent tonight. I thought the Morrissey-DeMello pair were really good. Even Stanley and Shen, I thought, were fairly good. I haven't looked at the advanced stats or anything like that, but yeah, it was a fairly dominant first period when you look at the shots and the shot attempts, but again, you had nothing to show for it.
Well, and that's just what happens is, yes, you controlled the pace of play, you've controlled the flow of play, you've tilted the ice in your direction, and then one rinky-dink goal against. I mean, this is a bad play by Logan Stanley. He turns the puck over, and then what happens? It's just sort of it's out of nowhere. Nobody expects Max Jones to be there. I mean, he gets his first of the season. It's unassisted.
I think he's only played like 7 games this year, Drew.
Right. So I mean, again, it's not. Again, you didn't see this
the fourth line guy.
Yeah, fourth line guy, exactly. Not there's nothing about this play that looks dangerous until it's in the back of the net. And so kudos to the Oilers forecheck here for getting in on Logan Stanley. It's just a simple dump in. There's nothing particularly difficult about it. And then what happens for the Oilers? It's Curtis Lazar, a guy who's again bounced around, played some years in Ottawa.
The definition of a journeyman.
Yeah,
he was on the Devils recently.
That's right, the Devils. He's hard on the Calgary Flames. I think he also played for, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
He's hard on the forecheck. He sort of surprises Logan Stanley. The puck ends up on the stick of Max Jones, and he sort of surprises Connor Hellebuyck at the same time. It's not pretty by any stretch of the imagination, except for the fact that it's pretty on the scoreboard. And the Edmonton Oilers, despite being badly outshot, badly outplayed, they lead 1-0 at the 8-minute mark of the second period. Logan Stanley was just too slow on this play. Credit to the Oilers for being on their toes, and shame on the Jets for being on their heels.
Yeah, I think that's really how you can sum it up. There, Logan Stanley, the puck comes around the boards to Logan Stanley behind the net. There's enough time for him to move the puck. That's the thing, Drew. There shouldn't have been like, yes, you mentioned Curtis Lazar. He puts a good forecheck on and he creates the turnover. But Logan Stanley had enough time here just to either move the puck along the boards on the right side. It was Josh Morrissey who was the other defenseman out there, but he just takes an extra second, and that allows Curtis Lazar to get in on the forecheck and staple him to the boards. And then the puck comes to Mac Jones. And the unfortunate thing is Scheifele's there. Right. Hellebuck looks like he has the post covered. But then Scheifele, if you look closely, and they showed it on the broadcast, Scheifele goes to deflect it because he's trying to prevent
He's doing the right thing.
But the problem is the puck then deflects over Hellebuck's pad / glove, right? So it's just, again, in a game in which the Jets dominated, I think I don't know if we can say dominated, but they were clearly the better team in the first period, Drew. Let's say that. Yeah. I know dominated is a word that gets thrown out a lot.
They were in control of the pace of play at the very least.
There you go. That's better. Thank you, Drew. They were in control of the game and in control of the first period, had all the advanced stats in their favor, and then Edmonton's up 1-0 on just a bad giveaway goal, right? Like an unforced error, if you will. Or I guess it was a forced error, but it shouldn't have been a forced error, right? So it's just you're down 1-0 on a goal like that, and you're thinking to yourself, like, what do we have to do to get a lead?
Well, they not give up the first goal is a good way to start. The Oilers make it 2-0. It comes 4 minutes and 49 seconds later. It's on their first and only power play opportunity of the entire game. Dylan Sandberg is in the penalty box for tripping. The Jets do a very effective job at keeping the big guns of the Edmonton Oilers on their power play to really not a particularly impressive effort. But then it's the second unit for the Edmonton Oilers that gets the goal. Jack Roslovic, 11th of the season. Great pickup for the Oilers. Signed him in October. Again, giving the Oilers secondary scoring, I think 11 goals. If Jack Roslovic was on the Winnipeg Jets this year, and we know all the bad blood that exists between, I would say, the organization and Jack Roslovic from how he was mishandled under Paul Maurice. 11 goals is secondary scoring that the Jets would kill for. They would kill for that. They can't even get sniff anything near that.
Well, that's more goals than Taves, Nyquist, and Pearson have combined.
No question. I think Perfetti could probably be thrown into that one as well. His 11th of the season, assist to Adam Henrique and Matt Savoy. The Jets just
former Winnipeg Ice legend Matt Savoy, Drew.
That's right. To use his full legal name. The Jets just, I think, lose track of their defensive responsibilities. You look at the goal visualizer, and there's three Jets players to the left of Connor Hellebuck. Tanner Pearson is in the middle of the ice. The puck is, it's shot by Henrique, and the rebound is kicked out by Hellebuck right onto the stick of Jack Roslovic, and all the Jets players are now in scramble mode. Roslovic has time and he's got space. He's inside the dot. He's close to the edge. He's in the high danger zone, and he just rifles it past Connor Hellebuck on the wrist shot. I don't like how the Jets pursued this. I don't particularly like the rebound that Connor Hellebuck gives up here. But, kudos to the Edmonton Oilers for taking advantage of poor, sloppy play by the Winnipeg Jets. And for a game that they have no business leading in, well, now they're up 2 goals late in the second period.
Yeah, and it was Adam Henrique, if I'm not mistaken, who brought the puck in. And he was the one that tipped the shot. I forget who shot it on net, Drew. But it was Adam Henrique who was creating a lot of space or pushing the Jets back a little bit. Or I think it was Ekholm that it went to. But if you watch the replay, you can see what kind of throws everything off is Neil Pionk, who's a right shot defenseman. Matthias Ekholm comes over the blue line, and Barron and Pionk both go to Matthias Ekholm.
Right.
So what you've got is Jack Roslovic is coming in on the left side to the right of Hellebuck, and then Pearson's got Henrique in front of the net, but a huge rebound comes out, and now nobody's covering Jack Roslovic, and it's either Barron or Neil Pionk who's got to get to him, and they're just nowhere near him. Right. So it's just bad defensive coverage. It's just you had two guys you had Pionk and Barron go to Matthias Ekholm, who's on the right side. even though he's a left shot defenseman, isn't he? But he was on the right side of the ice. So Pionk and Barron put themselves in a position where now Roslovic has nobody covering him.
Yeah, they just over pursued.
So they over pursue, they overload the left side of the ice, or I guess the right side of the ice if you're the Oilers. And yeah, it's a juicy rebound given up by Connor Hellebuck, and it's a pretty easy goal for Jack Roslovic, who, like you said, is putting together a nice. He's on pace for over 20 goals with the Edmonton Oilers. But again, it's when you're in a 1-goal game and you're struggling to finish. That you're now down 2 goals again. How many times have we seen that? We saw that against Colorado recently. We saw that against Utah recently. They were down to the Minnesota Wild. Like, it's just it's very deflating if you're the Jets and you've played that well and you're down 2 goals.
No question about it. And that's where it ends after 40 minutes.
The grandfather clock, by the way, Drew?
That was the clock. Yes, I'll show the clock afterwards. That was the clock chiming that it's...
People do want to see the clock. People have been asking me, emailing me, texting. They want to see the clock.
Wanting to see the clock. After the commercial break, we'll come back and I'll show everyone the clock before we wrap it up. After 40 minutes, 2-0 for the Edmonton Oilers. It's going to take another Herculean comeback by the Winnipeg Jets to try and salvage a point here, much like it did against the Utah Mammoth back before the break. And Adam Lowry starts it off for the comeback, the attempted comeback at the 5:46 mark of the third period. His second of the year, assist to Morgan Barron. This is the Jets at their best, a strong forecheck. Morgan Barron comes and he separates Max Jones from the puck, throws it on net. Big rebound given up by Pickard. And Adam Lowry is going hard to the net as well. And he backhands it past Calvin Pickard to give the Jets some life to make it 2-1 at this point in time. It's not flashing this goal by any stretch of the imagination, but Calvin Pickard has his flaws as a goalie. He played great tonight, but he definitely still has his flaws. But you love Morgan Barron going in there and being hard on the forecheck and doing what you need to do. And I thought the Jets were good on the forecheck most of tonight's contest. You just need more goals like this. You need more people saying, more performances like you saw from Morgan Barron and Adam Lowry here, not less. It's 2-1 for the Jets at this point in time. So kudos to Barron and good on Lowry getting his second of the year.
Yeah, I mean, like Morgan Barron, we talked about him earlier, just like another good game for Morgan Barron. And this is just a hardworking, I know it's a cliche, but I mean, this is a hardworking goal from a line that's not going to score goals like Connor McDavid or Mark Scheifele. Like, this is how they're going to score goals. And shout out to, I'm not sure if we've given Adam Lowry his props for playing in his 800th career game. That's a great milestone. And obviously he's going to have other milestones coming up because
he'll have game 1,000 coming up in a few years' time.
Absolutely, but those are 800 hard games that he's played, right, with his physicality. No, but I mean, to me, this goal is all about Morgan Barron turning the puck over. It was, I believe, Max Jones, if I'm not mistaken, who got the first goal. Yeah, it was Max Jones who he takes the puck off of, and then Lowry is right there with him and pokes the puck to Barron, and then Barron gets it on net, and then Lowry follows it up and gets the it's just like when you talk about connected, right? We often talk about that. You hear Kevin Sawyer talk about that a lot in the broadcast. That's a connected goal. That's Lowry and Barron feeding off of each other. Barron with the turnover, then Lowry knows where to go, goes right to the net, gets the rebound. And like we said, only his second goal of the season, he needed that one. And I thought Lowry was really good tonight, and we talked about it.
Played one of the better games. Yeah,
they outplayed the McDavid line. We already talked about the advanced stat, the expected goals, the shot attempts, all that. The Lowry line was possession positive tonight against one of the best lines in the league. So they did their job tonight. And unfortunately, they're just not getting contributions. It's we've been talking about this for months now, but you're just not getting enough goals from some of those other secondary scorers, and that's the difference in tonight's game.
No question. And of course, the Winnipeg Jets now have 15 minutes to try and get the tying goal, a little less than 15 minutes, and not for a lack of opportunities, not for a lack of quality performance. The net is empty. There's an offensive zone face-off. Jonathan Taves taking this face-off against Connor McDavid. He does not, win it. Certainly doesn't win it cleanly. It ends up on the stick, back on the stick of McDavid. I'm surprised that Darnell Nurse doesn't also get maybe an assist here because he's involved in getting the puck, sort of out of the Oilers zone. It ends up on the stick of Zach Hyman. He gets his 11th of the season into the empty net, and that's all she wrote tonight. Jets come close, play well. Lip service, and some additional lip service. But ultimately, 3-1 is the final score tonight. The Edmonton Oilers defeating the Winnipeg Jets in downtown Winnipeg. The Jets head out on the road New Year's Eve. They'll be in Detroit, and then New Year's Day they'll be in Toronto to face the Maple Leafs. So head out on the road for 3 now. They got the Red Wings,
then Ottawa.
Then Ottawa next Saturday night as well. So that's what's up next for the Winnipeg Jets. But tonight, a hard fought, but ultimately no points in the standings bank for the Winnipeg Jets tonight against the Edmonton Oilers on home ice. When we come back on the Illegal Curve post-game show, more on tonight's Jets and Oilers game. And I'm going to ask Ezzy the question. By the time we do another post-game show, which will be Wednesday night, Team Canada will be announced. Will Mark Scheifele be on that team?
Whoa.
I'll ask you that question on the other side of the break, Mr. Ginsburg. So prepare that answer accordingly, and I will show you the clock as well. And that's clock with an L, people. Get your minds out of the gutters. I've seen some of your thoughts in the chat. Not appropriate.
Show us your clock, Drew.
Yeah, clock. CLOC.
People want to see your clock.
Coming up next here on the Illegal Curve postgame show.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Along with Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Oh, hang on, I'm going to turn off the mic on the clock. There we go. That sounds a little bit better. The mic was, we was getting some reverb on the mic there. But
I actually like the echo better, Drew. Can you go back to the echo?
Go back to the echo, sure. It's yeah, we're having a little bit of fun. There's the clock. Everybody wanted to see the clock.
The regulator. I didn't realize it was called the regulator.
Apparently, it's called a regulator. I mean, I can show you the hour pieces on the clock or the time pieces on the clock too. But I was just trying to scramble it up to get the clock. And notice that the clock has its own Twitter feed now at IC Clock.
Drew, you'll like this, by the way.
Yeah.
You could call that clock the Warren G featuring Nate Dogg. Remember the song Regulators?
I do remember that. I could call it that.
I know you're a hip hop guy.
Yeah, I know. I am not sure we're going to do that, but there you go. There's the clock. Everybody was clamoring for the clock, so now we have the clock on the screen for everybody to enjoy. So
I'm being hypnotized by the clock right now a little bit.
Well, you know what? Whatever it takes to get people to watch the show. Sometimes we're not above hypnotism as an option. So I asked you a question before we went to the break. They're going to announce the team on Wednesday. They're going to announce it on Wednesday morning. It's going to be broadcast. I think it's probably going to be national news broadcast all across the country. Everyone's going to stop what they're doing on Wednesday and find out who's going to be on Team Canada. Do they announce Mark Scheifele's name?
I'm going to say yes, and I think it's. I don't think that it's going to be a slam dunk because I think he's in tough. Right, because he wasn't on the Four Nations team, but like at the end of the day, he's got 45 points in 37 games. He's on pace for 100 plus points. I think 102 to be exact. I think Mark Scheifele does make the team, but like I said, I won't be surprised if he doesn't make the team because we talk about this all the time. You could easily have two Team Canadas at the Olympics with how much firepower there are because you're talking about like Nick Suzuki's in the equation, right? Macklin Celebrini is in the conversation. Connor Bedard is in the conversation. Like these are all guys that Mark Scheifele is competing with for Team Canada, right? So I do think the way he's played for the Jets, he's been their best player along with Kyle Connor, who's going to obviously be on Team USA. But yes, Drew, I'm a proud Winnipegger. I might be a little bit biased, but I am going to say yes to Scheifele being on the team. But the folks also want to know what you think.
Well, yeah. I don't think he's going to make it. I think he deserves to make it. I don't think he's going to make it. I think that the brain trust, I just don't think that the brain trust of Team Canada has enough faith in him. I think that they're going to overcomplicate things and choose players who may not be as deserving because I think that they are
like, is Tom Wilson going to make this team?
I think Tom Wilson probably will make this team.
He of course was not on the Four Nations team either.
I know. I fear that they might do similar to what they did in Nagano. Probably not to the point of Rob Zamner, but I do fear that
isn't Anthony Cirelli your Rob Zamner? Like, is Cirelli going to make the team?
I think he is going to because of who the head coach is.
Right.
Now, but based on the performance this year, should he make the team? I mean, I don't think that he's been anything to write home about.
No, he's been fine. He doesn't put up the offensive numbers that Mark Scheifele puts up. Like
that's what I'm worried about. I think they're going to take guys who can fit a role rather than take the best players and ask those best players to fill the role. Frankly, I think take your best players because these guys will be, yes, they may not have the defensive consciousness during an 82 game regular season necessarily, or they might have some drawbacks in an 82 game regular season. But come the playoffs, or come the Olympics, when every game is almost, a bit of a playoff game or a Stanley Cup final, and these guys have been clamoring to play there so hard. Mark Scheifele's attention to detail defensively, I think, should not be the reason why he doesn't. His regular season attention to detail defensively should not be the reason why he doesn't make Team Canada. And I sort of fear that that they're going to overlook everything that he does bring to team and focus a bit too much on potential drawbacks.
By the way, Anthony Cirelli has 22 points in 42 games. Or
That's what I'm saying. He hasn't been good.
22 points, not in 42 games, in 34 games. So, like you're talking about, Scheifele has over double the amount of points that Cirelli has, right? So, like, if Cirelli makes the team, he's going to be a bottom 6 defensive specialist, right? Like, he's not being.
If he makes the team, then you're helping your opponents. Take your best players. Take your best players and worry about how they're going to adjust to the roles afterwards, because these are professional hockey players who will do whatever is asked of them.
Scheifele will play on the fourth line wing if he needs to.
Of course,
if he makes the team, he probably will be on the wing on the fourth line.
Yes, he will, and you know what? And he'll be fine, and you'll have a tremendous goal scorer and tremendous point producer.
Yeah.
Who will also, I still think, will be fine defensively at the same time for your team. And I worry that they're going to take an Anthony Cirelli, other guys who might not necessarily be performing that well, rather than the best players they could possibly take.
Like another guy that was on the Four Nations team that I don't see not making the team is Sam Bennett. Like our buddy Bingo Bango 13 was saying Sam Bennett's on the team. I don't know how you keep him off the team. He just won the Conn Smythe Trophy, right? Like, so like, think about all the guys that we've talked about: Celebrini, Bedard, Nick Suzuki, Sam Bennett, Anthony Cirelli. Seth Jarvis, I think, is injured.
Yeah, well, I don't
know if he's going to be available.
I don't know. It's unclear if it's going to, they can name him to the team and then replace him.
That's true. So, I mean, Seth Jarvis, we talked about him when the Jets played Carolina. I think he had 2 goals, or at least he had a goal and an assist against the Jets, right?
So they're going to name him.
Yeah,
so he was on the team. He was on the Four Nations team.
So again, I want Scheifele to make it, and I'm predicting he will. But I just don't have. I don't like if you ask me, Macklin Celebrini, I think he's got to be on the team. Sam Bennett got to be on the team. There's like Mitch Marner has got to be on the team. Brad Marchand. How does he not make this? Like, there's just so many good players that's why I won't be surprised if Scheifele doesn't make the cut, but I am pulling for him because I think he's done everything in his power. Like we said, he's on pace for over 100 points this season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what else does he have to do to get on this team? I don't know what else he could do.
I don't know what else he could do either. I mean, he's done anything that, he's done everything that I think is within his control regarding making this team. He's improved his play defensively. He's still a prolific scorer at this level. Yes, the Jets are struggling, but nobody in their right mind would say it's because of Mark Scheifele. I will feel bad for him if he doesn't make the team,
because he's going to be one of those last. Like, it's going to be between.
Well, he was the guy who was going to go. Remember,
exactly.
Crosby who was banged up before the Four Nations, and they put Scheifele on notice.
I think you're right. Yeah.
It was Crosby who was iffy, and then obviously he played. But if he hadn't, I mean, he was the last cut from the Four Nations Team Canada,
right?
And I would argue that he's better, probably playing better than even what did when he was on the cusp there.
Well, last year it was his career year, right? So I mean, that just like it goes back to my point. If I could sum up my point, I would say that yes, I think Mark Scheifele will make the team. That doesn't mean he can make the team, I guess. Doesn't mean he will make the team, I should say. But if he doesn't, then that just shows you how deep Canada is. And another player that was also deserving made the team, right? It's the old thing with Team Canada.
I hope they take deserving players. That's my concern, is that they might take guys who the coach likes, John Cooper, rather than take guys who are the best players possible. That's my concern.
Well, like another guy like Brandon Hagel, he's got 18 goals. He leads the Lightning with 18 goals. Like, people are saying, Brandon Hagel, why is he making Team Canada? Well, he's a good player. So I mean, he's not as 90 good as
points
Scheifele
last year.
Yeah, he's not as good as Scheifele. Like, I would argue Scheifele is a better player. But just think of how many different forwards we've named. Like, there's like the fact that like a Connor Bedard, the fact that we're even talking about Connor Bedard not making the team, and the season he's having is ridiculous. Like, I think Connor Bedard will be on the team too. I really do.
Ezzy, I think your roster's got 60 guys on it.
Well, we both agree on Celebrini, right? You got to have him there. No?
Yeah, I would have him over Bedard. I would have Celebrini over Bedard just because I think he's, yeah. I mean, look.
Like, yes, Celebrini's 19 years old, but he's also top 5 in the NHL in scoring.
Right. He's that good. So, exactly. There's no reason why they shouldn't. You know what? If you deserve it, you deserve it. Get on that damn team. And I mean, these guys, again, they will be able to, whatever role you ask them to play, don't worry about that. My concern, as I said, is that they'll worry about that. Oh, well, can this guy play in that role? Yeah, they can. They're world-class athletes. They're the best of the best of the best. They'll play whatever role you need them to play, and they'll play it fine. So that would be, don't overcomplicate things unnecessarily, is what I would say. Also worth noting, of course, that the roster at the Olympics is larger than it is at the NHL. So you do have a couple extra roster spots that might work to the advantage of the guys who are right on the fringes. We'll find out on Wednesday.
I'm still pulling for Scott Wedgwood, Drew.
We'll find out on Wednesday, and we'll talk about a Wednesday night. Spend New Year's Eve with probably Ezra and yours truly.
But not the clock.
Not the clock. The clock won't be there. So you get your last looks at the clock, folks. You can always come back and watch the replay of the clock if you need to be hypnotized by the regulator again. But we remind everybody that we're going to be next in action on Wednesday night. The Jets are going to be in Detroit to face the Red Wings New Year's Eve. It's a 5:30 p.m. Central Time start, which means the postgame will be right around 8 o'clock, maybe a couple minutes after 8. So before you head out for your New Year's Eve celebrations, whatever they may be sure to join Ezra and yours truly for the Illegal Curve post-game show on Wednesday night. And then, of course, Thursday against the Toronto Maple Leafs as well. So back-to-back games, Wednesday, Thursday. I'll be back to a non-orangey color. The lighting is a little bit off here, but I'll be back to a normal color. I've not ingested too much beta-carotene. Don't worry about that.
Getting lots of sun down there in Kentucky, Drew.
Not really. It's just the color. It's just the nature of the color that's right over my head makes me look very
You're
orange.
In the orange room.
Yeah, I'm in the orange room. Exactly right. In any event, thanks, folks, everyone, for joining us tonight on the Illegal Curve post-game show. We appreciate you doing so. If you haven't already done so, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn your notifications on, tell your friends, tell your family the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game. And again, on Saturday mornings is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. Big thanks to all of our sponsors. You're looking for something to do on New Year's Eve. Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has 2 shows featuring the hilarious DJ Demers. Tickets available, not very many tickets available, but some tickets available. RumorsComedyClub.com. Big shout out to our friends at Wheatland Hockey. They're, of course, the sponsor of the Wheatland Hockey Heads Up Hockey Play of the Game. They are building skills, character, and excellence on and off the ice. A fresh approach to youth hockey and development. Online, wheatlandhockey.ca. Play Now is the title sponsor. Holt Dental, City Place, Boston Pizza, and Label Daddy. These are also fine businesses that help support Illegal Curve Hockey, so you should support them in turn as well. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Ezra Ginsburg's in the top right. The clock is in the bottom middle, and I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Until Wednesday night, we wish you good night and good luck. Thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.